Hey, it's Carl from Amwave. Today we're going to build a water-cooled PC. Today we're working with Corsair HydroX water cooling components. For more info about the parts that we've used in this build, check out the description below. We have here is the HydroX Series XC7 RGB. It's a CPU water block, supports IQ software for controlled RGB, also supports 1150 Intel sockets and AMD AM4 CPU sockets. Okay, so since out of the box, this CPU block comes with the Intel socket and we're using AMD Ryzen 9 3900X, we're going to change the bracket to the AM4 equivalent. When installing this CPU block, we'll have to remove all these. These are the stock bracket for the AMD. So removing these is just 4 screws. Onto the CPU block itself, we'll just need to remove these, protective covering. Remove these. Remember, this is for Intel socket, all the squares one. These narrow ones are for AMD, that's what we're going to use. It's as easy as that. So you can see the CPU block itself comes with pre-applied thermal paste. We're just going to use that. Next component from Corsair is a GPU water block. We'll use these to custom water cool our GPU, which is a 2080 Ti. So this particular model is the XG7 RGB. It supports all NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition and all the other cards that has a reference PCB. For example, is our MSI GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. What we have here is a transparent window, so you can see the coolant goes into the water block. In here is our either inlet or outlet. This can be interchangeable. So what happens is the water goes in here. If you use this as an inlet, water goes in here, spreads it evenly to the fins. So this is where your GPU chip sits into, underneath. Goes in here, goes to like a flow meter in here, and then goes back out. On the side, it's the same as our CPU block. These are pre-applied thermal pads for your VRMs. This is also pre-applied thermal paste for the GPU chip itself. For this installation, this might take a while, so we're just going to speed it up for you. Step is installing the graphics card into the case itself. We're using a riser so we can take advantage of these vertical slots for the GPU because we want to show off the water block from Corsair. Installing these GPU to the vertical slot of the 680X using the screws that comes with it. Just have to make sure that this is properly tightened. Right, and then these. Have to go plug in like that. And then the RGB cables obviously goes to the back, so we can do the cable management at the back. So don't worry if this one moves a little bit. Since we're using a hardline tubing, we'll have more support, so that way it doesn't shake like this. Alright, our next part is the Corsair Hydro X XR7 360 radiator. This one is we're going to use to cool the water inside our loop. The sizing of these is 54mm thick with a 120 sizing of the fan. It will look perfect and works perfect with a 3-fan array that has the 680X built in, the old LL120 fans. It will be good for pushing air inside the radiator. Our next step is a component to power the loop itself. This is used to move the water inside. We have here is the XD5 RGB. This is what you call a pump and reservoir combo because it's a reservoir and a pump all in one. So once we unbox everything, we'll have a multiple versions of the mounting brackets that the pump comes with it. Just look at the manual. There's a multiple options for you as well available, and everything is included. It will only depend on how you want, where you position it on your case, on your system. So now for the fittings, we're going to use two types of fittings here. This one is called the XF Hardline straight fitting, and this is what you call the XF Hardline angled fittings. So the difference between those two is this one is what we use to install, we're going to install this onto the water block, radiator and the pump. This is a female to female fittings adapter. This is actually optional on this build, but we're just going to use it just to show off the new series of the XF Hardline from Corsair. As for the tubing to go with the fittings that we talked earlier, we're going to use the XD Hardline from Corsair as well. This is a hardline tube that you need to do some bendings. It's pretty much more for the advanced users. The sizing of this one is 14mm outer diameter. You only need to worry about the outer diameter when it comes to the fittings we talked about earlier. So this has to have a 14mm outer diameter compatible tubing to be used to. So now we'll try to connect this end to the CPU block using an angled fittings again. So I got a pre-cut tubes here. It's here and goes here. Yep, and obviously we're gonna need the collar to prevent leaks. So now we got one piece of an 90-degree angle. Then we can connect these to here. Don't forget the collar, another collar at the end. So now we're going to do a simple bend. I have the Hardline tubing here, and I also have a rubber insert. This rubber insert goes inside the tube. You just make sure you have the same size for the rubber insert. So check the inner diameter of your tubing and make sure it's well above the size of the diameter, outside diameter of your rubber insert. So what you need to do is be careful that if the heat gun is so hot, so run it right there. So you just make sure that you're only hitting the part that you want the bends to go into. Just make sure you're rotating it regularly. So at the moment I'm just using a container. Just make sure it has a right angle container, right corner. So I'm using that as a guide because I'll be needing a 90-degree bend to connect the radiator to the GPU. You have to be patient with this because it takes a while to let it cool and harden. Hope you guys enjoyed the build that we've done today. For more information about the parts that we've used here, check the description below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.